All right, so we are in the same line essentially, just below the middle of the top section on page AyinBase 18. The line starts with the word ve-hagum. I'm just going to read straight and then fill in what is missing. Hagam shenase kifeifin hakeli. Although the oil, when it's mislabish in the keli, it actually becomes kifeifin hakeli. It actually represents in all elements that are keli like. Kifeifin hakeli. Mikomokem yet still eine mishtana limahuz hakeli. It has not changed. It does not assume the mahus of the king. This is quite challenging, and I said these fine points are really of great importance. It becomes like the keli, but it's not mishtana le mahus hakeli. Does not change the mahus hakeli. What is the mahus hakeli? This is what we discussed at great length many times on Friday. Quite conclusively. It was important for us to understand, as we discussed, the principle of hislapshus. The oil is mislabesh in the cake. He used a very simple muscle, but as simple and muscle as it is, it still requires focus and to understand what this muscle is about. We said the oil hanefesh, from the perspective of the oil hanefesh, perspective of the koiches hanefesh itself, the principle of going from one place to the other to be where he wants to be does not entail movement. As Mashenko says, by his will he is there away. Because Rotzain does not recognize any other reality except from the godly reality. Therefore, there is nothing that is at a distance. That element that he recognizes, he is there. But then, and from this rotzing comes down into Sechel, and comes down into midway. When it comes down into Sechel already recognizes that there is such a thing as mokim uzman. Although it is still oil hanefesh. Despite the fact that there's oil hanefesh, this oil hanefesh encompasses, is recognized within parameters of makim uzman. Like we said, the Rotzain only knows one reality, the godly reality. Sechel recognizes that there is a home and outside of the home. And from that perspective, from the Sechel perspective, to get from the outside of the home into the home it requires a movement. Although both the outside and the home are all part of the same godly reality. Yet still at the level of Sechel, whatever the qualities of that is, the Sechel is mislavish in that state, and it actually recognizes the difference between one place and another place. Although, when it comes to the home, and we said all the time, what is a home? A home, this is what the nefesh expresses itself. Odom she'ein bayis ein odom. The odom element, the true neshama quality is what is expressed in a home. It's not just the four walls.
Still, it could be that somebody doesn't have their phone on mute in a conference room. People should mute their phones.
All right. I hope your message came through. So in this hislapshus is a phenomenal Inyan. The oil hanefesh is mislabish in that particular case. As we said, we spoke about the different specificities, but now we're talking about the home. It's the same thing, same principle. The home is what expresses the reality of the person on a worldly level. In the world. Like we said, a human being came to the world not just to be, but to affect. To affect means that he has to partake, have a part of the world. He has to be a real part of it. And that's what the home represents.
Did you leave off with outside the home and inside the home now?
I'm speaking about particularly inside the home. What do you feel?
No, because part to the home is where the person is occupied in the world. What was meant by going from outside the home to inside the home?
What was meant there is that even though the home is a true thing, but it's still there are different locations. That's what a Sechel recognizes location division. Since it recognizes the location division, therefore it recognizes the principle of movement, of going from one place to another. The home gives a person a real place where? In the entire world. So the home is demarcating a certain area in the reality of the world and putting a person there. And thereby the person is actually occupying a place from the reality in the entire world. But he's occupying a person to occupy, he has to occupy a demarcated area. This is the pshat misabish in a keli.
And by Ratzon is no in that house is just...
Ratzon does no distinctions.
So the keli is the physical.
What is physical?
So the keli is in this sense that demarcation of a specific place for the person to function in the world. Is that the keli?
Stop for a second.
That's
What are you missing?
Physical. That's what I meant by physical.
What are you missing? In terms of understanding what I'm saying.
I'm asking if...
Let me explain to you what my question is. And maybe we'll eliminate these difficulties. Torah tzivalon Moshe. Torah was given to us by Hashemayim. Torah did not come from the earth. If we learn Torah and we try to fit it into our perception of the world, it doesn't work. way to learn Torah is to learn, okay, let me try to understand what you are saying. What Torah is saying. Not from the perspective of my personal experience. Let me see how that develops from there. It doesn't. I know what we're looking for, but that's not the way to be. You can't grasp things that way. Okay, you understand? All right. So we're saying that the oil is mislabesh in the cave, which means it actually relates to the cave, and it functions according to the limits and the form of the cave. And the fact that it becomes a function according to the limit of the keli, it ain't mishtana limhus hakeli. It is not transformed to the mahus of the keli. This we spoke about Friday. Mahus and Metzias are very different principles. Very important to understand these two principles. And in the world, as a matter of fact, the only thing we recognize is Metzias. Mahus is a godly element. Let me explain. Let me discuss it. But even though it's a godly element, but we are functioning with it, we are relating to it all the time without realizing it. Without realizing it. Like we gave this very simple, super simple motion of the cup of coffee. We all recognize. We have to. This is the chokhmah. Chokhmah relates to the truth of things. We all recognize a fundamental difference between a cup and a cup of coffee. This is where our Sechel begins to function, real Sechel. There is no physical difference. This is not a physical difference. What is the difference? In the cup, there is only a piece of the world. In a cup of coffee, there is a human part. An intangible part. This human part that is demonstrated by this cup of coffee, this is the real thing. This is what the world is all about. This is what created the world in the first place. To bring out this mahus, the reality, like I asked the other day when we discussed it on Friday. In your perception, is the world a cup or a cup of coffee? Sounds like a joke, but it's not. Because the way the secular world views the world is a cup, totally meaningless entities. Pieces of dust, pieces of rock, speaking for nothing. We are saying in davening, we're saying that the mountains praise Hashem, the rivers praise Hashem, the fountains praise Hashem, the currents under the ground of praise Hashem. These are real. This is the real entities, the real presence. The earth, we all know, even these stupid idiots know the earth is a living entity. The earth is not a glob of earth. It would fall apart. Within 100 years it would fall apart. There's the whole process internal to the earth that they don't even begin to fathom what it is. The heat inside the earth is unfathomable. Everybody knows that. There is water flowing under the ground all over. all over. You want to reach, fresh water, dig down any place, and you're bound to hit water. Why? Because the earth is a godly creation. A godly creation represents a full-fledged presence. A full-fledged reality. Going back to the human being. The human being, this is uniquely a godly creation. All the animals are also godly creation, but there's no comparison. The human being was created, so to speak, by the hand of God, and the soul was uniquely blown into his nostrils, which means that there you have the slapshus of ruchnis and gashmis. This is what I say. The human being is not just a physical presence in the world, occupying place. He represents, like you said, the Catholic Church represents its maker, the human being. He represents God who made him. Because his presence is godly. He's not limited to worldly parameters. Unless he chooses to sink into the world. In essence, he is not the world. In essence, he is in his Sechel, and in the Sechel itself, in the super aspect of itself, the Chochmah. And in the Chochmah, you said that actually the human being is in the Haidor. You say, about Chochmah. What? Haidor, I'm not going into this. But it's the Nekuda, the Amunah. That's what a human being is. So even though his neshama is being slapped in the goof has certain parts. There's the brain, there's the heart, there's the feet, there's the hands, and anything he wants to accomplish in the goof, he has to employ some kind of an action. You have to go from one place to the other. You have to move the feet. To pick something up, you have to stretch out your hands. Even Sechel, you have to focus in the brain. Nevertheless, this aspect of the neshama, the oira nefesh, that's lavish in the goof, even though it functions in that manner, it functions through the brain and through the hands and so forth, it does not become kimahus hakei. That is really a challenge. If it's mislabish and it functions through it, it's not changed to the muhuzake. This we discussed on Friday, and hopefully we'll come to a clarity now. What is mahus again? Mahus means the very reality. What makes it be? All right, follow this. I bang my hand on the table, and I feel the bang. The very superficial, the very first sense of it hurt me. So I know that something was there. The fact that it hurt me, that is a knowledge akin to that of an animal. It's not real knowledge. It's not knowledge of the truth. It's knowledge of a reaction. Do you have it with me? But a human being goes beyond that level of knowledge. He does not say merely, just a reaction. Oh, there is something real there. Why does he say that there is something real there? Why doesn't the animal also say there's something real there?
He doesn't show.
The animal also has a nefesh.
It's a Sechel.
Okay, what does that mean?
There's a truth.
Okay, good. Why doesn't the animal have that same sense? He's also alive. And he's feeling the pain, the same. The human being also feels the pain. What is the difference? Why the human being immediately projects and says, no, this is not just? Like I said, when an animal walks, when a dog walks and he sees a wall, it's a wall. He doesn't say a wall, it's something, an obstacle. A human being sees a wall, he says, oh, there's a house. Wow, what makes him say that?
Sees what the thing is in itself, and the animal just sees just what his reaction.
Okay, right. Why is that?
That's the Chachma.
You can relate
Human
to
being is made to be like his creator, to really, whereas the animal is just.
Put it into the words that we are learning now. Einen mishtanen muzakei.
His koichos, the animal's koichos are vusakeli.
Oh, that's it. And the human being,
his
the koichos remain where they are. Einen mishtanen muzakei. So when he touches something, he touched something through his keli, but there has to be a truth at the level of the koyach, at the level of the nefesh, because the nefesh was not nishtan muzakei. Not with any mishtan muzakei. He functions. He feels through the pain on the table. That's how he finds out about it. Oh, but he finds out something different. And then, if you expand on that, not very far, you say, the human being sees the world and the animal how they see the world. They see different worlds. You understand? The human being sees the real world, the godly world. What's being shown to him. What is it about? This is why it's so imperative that we view the world the way the Torah presents it. The sun rises. Not the earth turns and gets to the sun. This is still going into the keli. That's not the way the human being sees the world. That's not the way the human being is meant to see the world. This is his choice to dig down into the earth, into the ground, into the keli, and forget about the air. This is what we're learning all the time. All kinds of different Rishonim that we always show the contrast between the world sees it and the way Torah sees it. Torah is speaking to the nefesh, to the Sechel and nefesh. The world speaks to the guf.
So the person can recognize a level of reality in some, since he has that reality, he can recognize the reality of something else, but that thing itself doesn't have on its own.
No, that thing has it.
Has it?
Of course has it.
But not to its.
A cup of coffee.
Is it?
Does it have a human reality or not?
Yeah.
It has. It's a keli, but in this keli there is a noyer.
It's because of him that it.
Because of him.
Because of him that it has that.
No, I don't understand. He sees it because he's a human being. An animal can trample on a human being. He won't know that he's trampling on anything significant.
And if we look at the sunrise mashal,
Yeah.
so I mean, although we learned in high school, the planets turn, and we just spoke about that. Now, in a way, we say that. So what are we saying? That's just the physical. But in truth, it's being brought out from behind the curtain. It's being presented to us.
That's his lapsus bekelim, but ein nasel kim husake. Here, I'm quoting right from inside. What is the truth about it? What are you supposed to see as a human being? With your Sechel. That's what in a Nasik Musake.
That's what? Eno Mehusakelu?
Huh?
You said that's what was the sentence? That is Eno Mehusakelu?
Yeah, like
Okay,
he's
no,
talking
it's
there.
not what you're saying.
Eine Mishnana. Lemuzake.
So the slapshus is that these planets are turning, and it comes up over the horizon. But that's not the.
No, the Islapshus is that you see the sun when you see the sun. You have light when the sun is there. That's the Islapshus. And the sun is a physical entity. Is it the physical entity that gives you light, or is it its task, its mission that gives you the light? Is the light an inadvertent result of the fact that it's a burning fire?
That would be Mahusake.
If that would be, then it's Mishnah Muzake. Then it's not
So a human being is higher than the Mount Sechel?
Human being has a nefesh, and the nefesh remains nefesh. That's the point. Human being, it's up to him. He can dirty his nefesh, his sechel, and give him metamas ha-sechel, and give up on the sechel. I'm more comfortable in the world, in the Gashmi. That's the power of the human being, the Bechira. But no matter when he's going to be, he still has a nefesh as a hod. Like we said the other day, many times. You find a man lying in the gutter, in dirt, and he says, "I'm comfortable here." Do you believe him or not? You say that he's lying. What's mean he's lying? He's saying the truth. Yeah, he says, "Leave me alone." In essence, he remains the human being.
Yeah. Going back to Rob's original question regarding banging on the table with the hand, and the Rav focused on any mishtamin and Musa Keli, because nefesh is in the hand, and apart from that, therefore, there's a distinction between a human being and an animal. But sof kol sof, isn't it the neshama which is in the Sechel making that distinction? So, it's not some pain, but it's Eibishter. It's a God. It's a godly thing. In experiencing pain. So doesn't mean the Sechel, the Shema, does not mean in the Sechel for the person to make that distinction, not just a reactive response, but to appreciate that it's that in itself is also
I want to know what you're aiming at. I can't get the point.
Right, but my question is that in response to the Rav's question, the answer was the reason why the hand doesn't have a reactive response, but it says that it's a godly thing, because the all which is the nefesh which is mislabish in the hand, it doesn't change according to the mahus of the hand. Right. And my question is, sof kol sof, for a person to have that perception, that's not just that he's feeling is because it's reactive response, but rather it's that in itself is a godly experience. Doesn't that distinction have to be made by the Sechel? True, there's some have to be mislavish in the Sechel.
No. Oh. It doesn't have to be the Sechel. It has to be recognized by the Sechel. It is there all the time. The Sechel allows him to recognize it. This is what education is about. Real education is shown, this is an animal, this is a human being. He didn't know, of course he knew, but he didn't know how to distinguish it. What's significant about it? But when you point it out to him, he says, oh yeah, of course.
When you choose the good, it's based on freedom of choice.
It doesn't, the Sechel is a phenomenal thing. If the Sechel were to create it, it's not real. It brings down the neshama at the level of the Sechel. That's what Sechel does. It applies the nefesh spirit, the nefesh truth, to a physical entity. Like we said, a cup of coffee. It's a stupid shemashal. But the Sechel that's mislavish in the physical reality senses a difference. Why does the Sechel sense a difference? Because in this Sechel there's a nefesh. And this nefesh says he can easily distinguishes between one thing and another. No human being will say that you picked up a cup of coffee and you threw it out. Big deal, you offended a cup of coffee. No human being in his right mind will say that. Even the idiots out there. Right? Because everybody senses that. That's what Sechel is about. The neshama is mislabish in the goof, in the brain, and gives it a different perception. There's a difference between the way a human being sees the world, which is through Sechel. The highest point is the Sechel, and then in midway. The animal sees it from midway's perspective. It hurts. It's pleasant. Sechel, now that we got to the Sechel, is a phenomenal gift. Sechel is the ability to relate and perceive a godly truth within the worldly level. In other words, as we said on Friday, when you look at the human being, do you see a godly creation, or do you see an evolutionary glob of meat? Do you see hands and feet, or do you see a living, a supreme, a living entity? With choice and all that. Sechel sees it. Because Sechel is mislabish in the goof, and then in mishtana in limuzakuf. And no matter how much you convince me that it's okay for me to lie in the gutter, I don't believe you. It may be kriyas yamsuf to pull you out of there, but you don't belong there.
So in some ways it's receiving, like you said before, it's suited or calibrated to the body, Yet Eno Mushtane, it's not
Lemhus.
given. Yeah, it's not given over to the reality of body, but yet it's receiving input from body. Yeah.
Right. It'll function according to the bodily limits.
Okay.
In other words, if I want to have the cup and drink it, I will not say the cup should be right here. I'm stretch out my hand and pick it up, and it doesn't interfere with my thought process. It's identical to having the cup come to me.
Right. It's comfortable with that. It's not comfortable with the world turning, the sun's emerging over the horizon. It says the sun's rising, the sun's being presented.
It's a false perception. I mean, right. Then it robs the human being from the perception of a living world. I'm living in a dead world. Can I survive there?
And then on the other hand, why is it so comfortable moving the cup? Why isn't that also a dead world? Things don't move. I want the coffee, but yet I have to do all this. Why is that not a problem?
Because this cup was made for me to use. The water in the cup was made for me to use. Mm-hmm. Like we said the other day, you take a loaf of bread and you pick up the loaf of bread and you make a bracha and you eat straight from the loaf. Compare that, you take a loaf of bread, make a bracha, cut off a piece, a bite size, and eat. It's exactly the same bread.
Mm-hmm.
This is the extent to which this goes. That's what the halacha says. That a person should not, when he makes a bracha, he should make a bracha on a piece of bread that's cut, not on the loaf. And then when he buys it, he should break off something that is mamish serving his mouth. That's COVID. That's a human being.
Rabbi Paltiel?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed this, but let me put it around the other way and ask this. If the oyer would be, in fact, Mishana, when it's Mislavish Keli, to the Mahus HaKeli, what exactly would that be? You already described that?
Then the human being would react, would know of the world exactly the same thing that what the animal knows. Mind you, the animals also, like they say, they love the dogs. The dogs are royal. They're loyal, and they're lovable. The dogs are lovable. This is all reactive. There's nothing real in this. It's a personal experience on the worldly level. Like saying, this cup is very loyal because it has the water exactly the way I want it. It always reminds me of years back. I don't know if any of you remember. There was a certain period. There was a craze. There was mamish of fat when there was what's called the rock, a pet rock. A pet rock. You didn't even ever heard of it. A pet rock. You heard about it?
Yeah, sure.
How long ago?
Almost as good at advertising as Folger.
A pet rock. He used to sell pet rocks. He used to register.
They sold them?
Huh? It used to be sold and was registered. There was a registry, and you had to report every day. Did you feed it? Did you wash it? A whole.
Was there anything written on the rock?
I don't know.
You
I
can
didn't
pay
know
extra
that.
to get your name written on it.
I didn't know
With
that.
his name on it.
It's amazing. A pet rock is it's the stupidest thing. Like you said, it's a human, imagination creation. But the love for a dog is not far behind. Sure, a dog is a living entity, a living beast, and you have to take care of it. But this whole business, this is like a pet rock. It's a humanly created thing, in the same way as you create all kinds of different other projections.
So if in fact there was a Hislavshtis that was Mishana Hakeli, the oil was Mishana Lemahus Hakeli, everything would be a pet rock.
Right. Mishtalim Mutakela means that there is no truth beyond the Matthias of the Keli.
So
But
this
Mishtalim
is
Mutakela.
science- True?
Yeah, what?
This is basically the scientist's view of the world.
Well, that's what I'm pointing out, the whole thing, the whole time. If you say light, daylight, is the result of the earth rotating on its axis, and the sun happens to be there in that proximity, and therefore happens to be light, then you have nothing.
If it were that the ore was Mishana according to the Mahus of the Keli, there would be truth, but no one could recognize it. We would not be able to recognize it.
The principle that the light is not Mishtana in Muzakeli, please understand. The reason that the oil is not Mishtana in Muzakeli is it's impossible for the oil to be Mishtana in Muzakeli. It's not a question of us recognizing. If it would be Mishtana Muzakeli, then it's not oil. There would be no truth.
There would be no ore.
There would be no oil. Oil is not Mishtana Muzakeli because it's impossible. Just, okay, this is reminiscent and make the point directly. They're trying to identify the physical definition of life. There is no such definition. They insist that there is. But there is none.
So
life is Eina Mishtana Muzakeh. The Gemara says, this is the Gemara says, in his council called Boy Eila, the entire world would gang up together and say, let him create just one wing of a fly and give it some sense of life. Then we know that you're a real scientist. You really are able to create the world. The Gemara said this 2,000 years ago without fear of contradiction. It's way before all the scientific development. So you were saying something?
No, I was wondering, I understand where you're trying to define Metzius versus Nehus.
Right.
But in recent years,
What?
in recent years,
Right.
the people you call idiots, scientists, have gone through a
One
development.
second. The idiotic view of the world, not not their process. Okay, go ahead.
No, because there has been some breakthrough discoveries about cells and atoms and electrons.
Go ahead.
Those are some kind of a definition of the world.
Yes, no question about it. No question about it. But is that life? Is that the end of it? This is was.
It's a codified description of life.
It's not a description of life. It's not. It's when life is mislavish.
Oh. Do you have an idea about the spirit? But
Life is mislavish. Life is very profound, and to be mislavish in a physical entity is really godly ingenuity. And therefore there are many different levels and many different details going on. Infinite amount of details.
Mm-hmm.
But it remains life. Any mishnah was okay.
Deal?
Yep.
Yet the way that the Abish does this makes it possible for you to...
I'm sorry. Do it again.
Now, the way the Abish does this, he makes it possible for us to stake the fact that the Ayr is not the Shalom Husakela. So, in other words, it's not obvious. Why does he make it so that you could make a mistake and think that there isn't any oil there? There's not something called oil. There's just the Mahus HaKeli.
What's the last question?
In other words, that's possible for human beings to misunderstand. It's not obvious that there's an oil that's unchanged in the Keli. Right?
That's a genius question, brother.
Okay, you don't have to make fun of me.
That is a minor thing. Look, people have actually created Avodah Zaros. They bow to rock.
You don't just call them pets to bow down to them. You call them owners.
Right. People
So
to make
why
a
is the minor
mistake,
thing?
there's one path that leads to all mistakes. One single path. And that path begins with one's choice. Do I want to accept that the world is not of my making, and therefore what the Creator said it is, that's what it is? And I'm going to try to learn as much as I can about that. And we always remember, it's not my creation, it's the Creator's. And the real thing behind it is the force of in the presence of the Creator. And I cannot divorce the world from its Creator. I cannot know the world independently of its Creator, because that's where it came from. It has no reality but for the presence of the Creator. And if I want to decide, no, I want the world independently because I want to be independent of, I want to have my own presence. That's the choice. That's a decision. Whether it is Avodah Zarah, whether it is Petrak, whether it is Mislapshus and Mishtama and Huzakeli, it's all the same Nakuda.
Avodah Zarah also means that he's attributed to also something, not himself.
No, Avodah Zarah is attributed himself. I defined what the Avodah Zarah is. Everyone chose his own form. The real answer to your question, why did Hashem do it this way? That's there are two things. The Rambam says that Moshe Rabbeinu, when Eden accepted Moshe Rabbeinu and they knew that his words are all truth, was not due to the miracles that he showed. Because if you know something through a miracle, through a proof, so the Rambam writes clearly, as we're discussing it now, then your knowledge is not absolute. You're constantly questioning, did I deduce it right? Is the proof adequate? We believe the Moshe Rabbeinu because because we saw and heard Hashem talking to Moshe directly. In other words, it's not through a proof, indirectly, but directly. This is what we're pointing out all the time. Mehus and Mitzias. Mitzias also you know logically where it came from. The cup, you know logically that the cup was put down by a human being. But you don't see the human being in it. So what is the means that the Rebbe made, like we said, that it shouldn't be complete darkness. So the Alter Rebbe says, this is the Gemara says, that originally the Rebbe created the world b'shem Elokim, with Gvura. Rosh Ein Ha'olam Miskayim, so that the world would not really subsist. It could not, it would actually, like you said, it will drown down into the Keli, into the hell and behester. He didn't eliminate it because he still wanted the real world. By Isis or the various miracles that reveal, that awaken the person to say, hey, this is not the whole thing. And if he sees this is not the whole thing, then he, please understand, to see the truth that we're pointing at is not that difficult. It depends on your will. It's not that you can see it. It's very obvious, but you have to want to see. To see the world as a reality, it's real, but you have to want to. Otherwise, I just want to hide. I want to see that. I want to be comfortable in my physical entity, presence. So this is what the challenge is. The challenge, not that Rebbe should conceal it, that we can't see the world. It's not true. Like we said, every day the sun rises. This is a godly manifestation. That the world is a living entity, a godly entity that the Rebbe created, that there is night and day. Night and day is much more significant than just light, and we discussed many times. And the sun rises in response to the command, to the godly command that it should rise. This is there all the time. It's up to the will of the person to focus on it or not, to accept it, to look at it from that angle, or to say, no, I'm much more comfortable with the earth, with the physical. I always say this is the rat. No matter what it has, it prefers the rat hole. It's much more comfortable in the rat hole. It digs deeper and deeper and deeper. A human being has the option to go into a rat hole or to be in the open world that God made. So this Inyan that he was provided the ability to make a mistake. He was provided the ability to make a mistake, but also provided the spirit not to make a mistake and to see and to seek the truth. Because this is contrary to his spirit, contrary to his rots. Like we said, the drunk in the gutter, and he says, "I'm comfortable," but he knows that he is lying. It's only up to his will to admit it.
Is this called a Veda?
This is called avodah. Because there is an opposition, it's called avodah. Yes, of course it's called avodah. To overcome all of these tendencies, all of these diversions, it's called avodah.
Natural instincts.
And stay focused. What?
Natural instincts.
Instinct.
The natural instincts of the body. That you choose the indesirable way.
Yeah. It's much more comfortable.
Seems not just the comfort level, but also that he concealed himself, and then he concealed that he's concealed. I mean, there's Esther. For the sake that you really exert your will, I guess, or for the sake that you do some real avodah. But it's seemingly not just, I prefer to be comfortable in my limited perspective. It's also
the classic illustration.
He hides his face.
Yeah, he's from this drunk in the gutter. Why does he want to stay there?
Because he feels he's more comfortable.
But why does he? But he knows the truth. He does not want to face it. I think it's all in the will.
Tendency not to face it, that's in the group itself.
What?
Tendency not to face it, that's in the group itself, husband?
It's not in the goof. It's in the nefesh that was slavish in the goof that becomes one with the goof. Nefesh abamish it's called.
Why you would not like to face it while he has a neshama inside of him that wants to face it. I mean, he wants to. So this is weakness, or is it going into?
Has it ever happened to you? Chas v'sholom, but the project is it ever happened to you? In the morning when you have to get up, and you know, this morning I have to get up at 6 o'clock. I must. It comes 6 o'clock, and you, I can't. You go back to bed. Has it ever happened?
Of course.
How?
There could be some explanation to that, I guess, because if I would have lived in a place where there's no 770 or other options, it probably would have been propelled to wake up. But sometimes
there's no explanation. The explanation for this is a shortage of will.
That impairs the discipline.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have Eina Mishtan Muzakeli. We got this concept in a way that's Eina Mishtan Muzakeli. This is it.
Have to change the
I
table.
feel like it's important today to speak up for the cats because we had rocks and dogs and no cats.
Yeah, 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 yeah.